Hey guys, good afternoon. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter. Our guest today is Matt Ricketts, and this is Smart Business Moves, Wednesday, April 21st, 2021.
Awesome.
Matt, I've got my pad of paper over here. I got my pencil. I'm ready, Matt.
We're ready to rock and roll.
Well, Tom, this is in the way. I'm just here to help.
How many days, when did we start Smart Business Moves? It was over a year ago. So we need to just have a sequential calendar, day 417 or something.
Why don't we, Tom? That's totally your jam right there.
Yeah, I'm on it.
What's the news? I want to know what news is going on right now.
Man, I've been 4 hours of Zoom calls today. I do not have any news for you. I've been deep in the Zoom calls.
Well, I think the big news is going to be about the guilty verdict, right? That's the big news right now.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's going to be going on for a while, I guess. But
that's the beginning. That's the beginning of this. Obviously, there's no end with a jury, right? Like that's just the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the big news. The markets have been pretty flat the last couple of weeks. Is that me?
I don't know.
It's not me. I don't think it's me. Is it me?
I know. Well, I'm going to mute myself.
I'm going to mute for a second and see if it's me.
Okay, now. Is it Matt?
Yeah, I don't hear it now.
Yeah, we're good now, Matt. Can you do sign language or we can lip read?
Speak really clearly. I'll read your lips and tell everybody what you're saying.
This is a technical term. It's launching.
Wackoing, waka, waka, waka. Thanks, Sam.
Echo.
Tom, before when we had this problem, we could mute when Matt was talking and we could get rid of it. So let's try that. Matt, you go ahead and talk after we mute.
Okay. I don't think it's me. I think it's yours, Liz.
Well, you sound good now.
It's always Liz. Technical problems.
And there's a red button on your mic, and when it's lit solid, that means you're hot. And when it's blinking, that means you're muted. Yeah, you're good.
Good, Liz.
Tom, that's so rude.
Loud and clear.
All right, so I will mute so that Matt can talk.
I'll let you guys lead and follow. We were going to talk today a lot about this labor market and ways that you can kind of drive, some success through it, which would be, things like focusing on making more money per job, which would allow you to pay your people more. And how do you connect those dots really? Like that's the hard part is that, yeah, we want to charge more and we want to do these things, but how do we connect the dots on that? And that's kind of what we were going to talk about. And, Tom's got it as a deck, so I'll let him lead a little bit and I'll fill in the blanks where things come up.
Yeah. But you're exactly right, Matt. We've used the term unprecedented times more than once lately. And I guess over the last year, as they say, ad nauseum. But not for, we had good reason to do so. There's a lot of things are changing and unique situations are popping up, and that's still going on and that's still in place. So I put together a deck maybe to help us through some of this, just explain what's going on and how it's affecting the labor market. And, for starters, there is just a whole lot of money washing around out there that, have some intended consequences, some unintended consequences, maybe some consequences that we're pretending is unintended, but maybe it was really intended after all. I don't know. These are things that we can debate. But the reality is, this is an example of where some of the money is coming from. And this is like going, to people who, is going to a lot of people, including the population from which we would be finding candidates to work in our cleaning businesses.
Yeah.
The first one I have here is the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA. This was the big bill that, no, excuse me. This is the unemployment benefit of the $300 a week. And this is coming from the federal government on top of what anybody would be qualified to get from the state. And I actually put a link in here with an article that can be useful, and I'll drop this in chat. So for your particular state, if you're curious as to, what type of benefits somebody could be entitled to, you can click here, and this article explains. It's even got a calculator that you can plug in your state and see what they can get and the maximum number of weeks that they could be qualified. So like in South Carolina, it says it's 24 weeks, and this has been going on for a while. So you would think that there would be people that would be running out of unemployment benefits, but somewhere down in here, it says that even if your state benefits are expired, you still can be a candidate to get the $300 for the federal government all the way up through 9/6/21.
I think we're all kind of aware of this one. That's certainly one that's driving it quite a bit, right? Like, so, making in Missouri, it's probably about $600 a month is the where you
a week.
I'm sorry, 600 a week would be where you'd be between the state of 320 for the state plus another 300 in federal, so 620 a week. I mean, that's pretty decent. If that was a part-time job at 30 hours a week, that's almost $20 an hour. So
and you're not working.
And
you don't have to get out of bed for that.
And you don't have to pay taxes on it right away. Now you're going to get taxed on it later. Oh, so in Missouri's $251. Is that the minimum?
That's what it's saying here. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, $550 a week not to work is not a bad deal for some people. So but I think that the inverse of that is the people that are applying have been really good. The people that I've hired lately have been really solid.
So that's what I wanted to say. The people that are deciding not to go on unemployment and that are deciding they want to work, these are some quality people. These are the people that enjoy working. They want to work. So if we can give them good jobs, they're happy. So it can work in our favor. It's just a matter of making that happen.
Are we doing the things necessary in order to attract those quality candidates?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. So we everyone knows we had those 1,400 plus the 600 before that in the previous plan, plus whatever was in the plan before that. But a lot of that money still hasn't run through the market yet. I mean, a lot of people with 3 or 4 kids within 30 days got $6,000-8,000, something like that. Like, that's a lot of money that they hadn't had before. So that gives people a lot more flexibility that they might not have had, where they might be able to say, I don't have to work for 2 months, 3 months. Like, I can take some time off.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the people you're hiring are quality, though, but let's just pick on that for a minute. I see a lot of people, and we're experiencing this as well, where you might invite a dozen people. Well, you might have like 100 leads off of Indeed, and maybe get half a dozen to even talk to you. And if you invite them in for an interview, maybe one shows up.
Yeah. So our lead flow, like, of candidates, typically in a normal week pre-COVID, we'd get maybe 80 applications, full completed applications, not an Indeed app. I get hundreds of Indeed apps per week because we pay a ton of money for Indeed. I'm spending like $60-70 a day on Indeed, maybe more. I hate to even think about it. So full applications now per week is maybe 15 or 16. It's not even a quarter of what it was, prior to COVID. So it's definitely choked way back.
So,
and then
that's a dynamic that I don't know if anybody's got a perfect answer for or can even explain.
No, I mean, perhaps going after some different channels, might be.
Why do so many people express an interest like an Indeed, but they don't even want to talk to you and certainly don't want to come to an interview? Why is it you invite 10 people to an interview and one person shows up?
Yeah, potentially that's continuing that unemployment. Potentially that's a requirement in some states, that they need to maintain. A
lot of states have waived all that stuff because of COVID. Like in South Carolina, they're going to start doing, actually, I think today is the day that they're going to start requiring individuals on unemployment to demonstrate that they're actually, looking for work. But everything prior to today, they just didn't have to provide any proof.
Okay. I don't know.
Lake posted something last week, y'all, about her state now providing a form to complete if people
North Dakota, right?
in North Dakota.
That makes sense in North Dakota.
Switching that, it might be switching just a little bit. Yeah, it's very easy to just click on jobs and Indeed. Yes, I agree, Royce. We've seen that in the past too. We do not have as good of follow through with the people that come through Indeed as we do through other channels. Yeah. So I think it's just really easy Indeed to just be like, yeah, sure.
Facebook is kind of the same thing. Somebody's going through their news feed. Oh, this is interesting. They click on it, and they'll wake up the next morning and forgot all about it.
Especially Facebook ads.
I would say that's probably our least. I mean, we're still actually hiring off of Facebook, but I mean, it's our least productive as far as like of engagement for sure. Is Facebook.
Right. So to swing it back around to like the money that's flowing out to the general public, including to the individuals who would be candidates to be cleaning professionals and organizations. The American Rescue Plan, that was the $1.9 trillion bill that got passed, I guess, back in March. And that entitles, qualifying individuals and basically everybody out of the population that would be, working an hourly job for like a house cleaning business would qualify for a $1,400 check, along with a $1,400 check for all their dependents. And I was looking to see if there was a maximum cap on that, and I couldn't see where there was one. Do you know, Matt?
I've never actually looked. That's a good question. I mean, I guess if you had 13 kids, I guess you'd still qualify for, that tax credit. I mean, the 300 per month additional, because this new tax credit they're doing is you're actually getting that but I think you have to be working for this last one to work. Don't you have to be actually working a job? You can't get the child tax credit unless you actually have compensation coming as a check, correct?
I don't know. Say that again.
So the way this new tax credit is working, child tax credit, is they're actually seeing.
Oh, you're skipping. You're skipping ahead. We're still talking about the ARP.
He's excited about the tax credit.
We'll get you there, Matt. It's a good question. I don't know, but there's a chance that we're going to be getting a fourth stimulus check, that they might not be done with that. There's some debate if it's going to be happening or not, but here's a article that came out on the 16th last week about that, kind of the latest there. So we want to be keeping an eye on that.
How sure does it seem, Tom?
It's kind of a toss of a coin at the moment, at least according to that article. What have you heard, Matt?
I haven't really thought that it's like realistically going to happen, but I didn't think PPP2 was going to happen either. So
yeah.
I did not believe that some of these things would be done again. So yeah, I don't know.
But the $1,400 out of the ARP would go for each dependent as well. So if you've got 3 kids, then that would be 14 times 3 times 4, I guess, yourself plus your 3 kids.
Right.
Now the child tax credit. What were we saying there, Matt?
Well, so normally you see this back at the end of the year and you get a big tax return. What they're doing now is per child, you're actually getting a deposit of $300 into your checking account per month. It's actually coming in advance. So from my understanding is that you have to be working to get that child tax credit. Like that one is only really advantageous to people that actually have a job, because it's based on earned income. I could be wrong though, and if you're getting that without work, again, that's another negative incentive that would make it easy to choose not to. I don't know how that one works exactly, but I do know that it's paid in advance instead of having to wait for it.
But the way that it's reading right there, they would want to be working as long as they weren't making more than $150,000.
Right.
Okay, so Roy says that you have to be working. That's cool.
That's
I
what
wonder if you had a household where two people were working and one of them was working, would you be qualified for that, and the other one would then not have to work?
Absolutely, as long as one of the people in the household claims the kid. So yeah, for some households right now, they don't need to have two. They don't need to have two incomes. So obviously, that is a negative incentive against work.
And as a rule, if it was a two-income family, the supporting income probably would be the one that would be working as a cleaning professional.
But it's one thing to be all like, go, this is all terrible. But this is our reality. So now we need to talk about like a few more. I guess we talk about a few more bad things, and then we can talk about some solutions, right?
Hang on, Matt. We're just getting started. Patience, my friend. Patience.
Okay.
he's a high
My
positive stuff sometimes. You can't handle it much.
If Matt were doing this, smart business moves would be like 10 minutes.
yeah.
Any questions? I'm picking on you. I'm sorry, man.
What do we got?
Okay. So, and obviously, we've had the expanded government subsidized. Did I spell that right?
You
Maybe. I don't know. Sick pay, regardless. It's we know what it means. And the expanded FMLA. There's a whole lot of money out there floating around that basically makes it easier for people not to work if they want to. For a lot of people, working is now an option rather than a necessity. And like Matt was saying, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, there's probably a lot of good out of that and reasons why it is what it is, but there's no point in debating that. The fact is, that's the fact. As long as you file jointly, many of the staff file head of household. Okay. The other part of this is employers are getting a lot of assistance as well. You're familiar with the EIDL loans. I guess the EIDL loans were the first things that came out. While it wasn't really explained that way, after like the first week or so, they decided they needed to cap those at $150,000, and it was only for 6 weeks of relief. They recently came back out and announced that they would raise the cap to $500,000, and you can get relief for up to 24 weeks. It's a loan, but it's a 30-year AM at like 3.75. And if you believe that inflation is something that goes along with all the money that they're printing and the wages that are going up, then 3.75% interest over 30 years is, very possibly the cheapest money that you are going to be able to borrow for a long, long time, but it's still a choice. But there's a link here that, can I copy that? We've shared this before, but I want to share it again because this gives instructions on how to apply for that. And even if you got one of the original EIDL loans for $150,000, you can apply here and get the additional money, or at least apply for it. And it's as simply as sending an email. Send an email to these guys and say, hey, I want it, or there's even a phone number here now. They changed it since the last time we looked at it. What's Royce sharing with us here? Probably as long as, okay, what's this? Don't have to personally guarantee if it's under 200,000. That's a true statement.
Yeah.
But it's like a rich uncle loan as long as you keep it under $200,000. And the $150,000 ones that originally don't even show up on your credit. I mean, I've checked it a few different ways. They do not show up on your credit at all as far as a loan. So either on your business credit or your personal credit.
Right. So my advice to everybody is to, at the very least, send an email to this address or call these folks and say you're interested in being considered for this. It doesn't mean you have to accept anything. It's just while we're trying to sort all this out, there's no sense in not getting in line.
Back when we were talking about this last week, Tom, I believe we sent out an email and we haven't heard anything back. Have you heard of anyone getting a response from anything yet?
We got one email back, but we sent out, we did it for several companies.
Yeah.
But it was kind of nondescript. And we were concerned because we didn't get emails back for some others. And we followed up and they said, well, you may not have. Don't sweat it. I imagine they've got so many emails, they don't know which way to turn.
Yeah. I'm curious about that phone number because how many people are going to be trying to do this? That seems crazy.
Well, you remember like when this thing first started, and this was even before PPP, there was like a phone number and it was kind of like a secret phone number and you could dial at certain times. And I mean, it was, and some people like got much more than $150,000 because they got in up front. But if you get expanding from 6 weeks to 24 weeks, if you got $150,000 the first time, you could probably get another $350,000 more with the same terms if you wanted to. Royce makes a good point. At over 200,000, you have to personally guarantee it, but you probably have other debt you've personally guaranteed as well. And if you're handling the money wisely, it could be something worth considering. But it's always dangerous borrowing money too, so you got to have a plan.
So buying a new Ferrari, that's not a great plan, Tom, or that is a good plan?
I'm sorry, what's a good plan?
Buying a new Ferrari?
That's a bad plan. That's a very bad plan. Royce has gotten to the next step. They're asking for 19 returns and 20 financials and liabilities. That's awesome.
Wow. Yeah, that is awesome. Thanks, Royce.
Be interesting to see. Keep us in the loop on that, Royce, because you're on the leading edge of this. Business plan and narrative. How about that? So they've raised the bar a little bit.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
They're actually going to make you work for it.
Yeah. Give me your business plan. Okay.
They know this is the United States. What the heck? Just give me the money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Show me the money. Okay. So PPP1, PPP2, the employee retention tax credit. That's probably one of the more underappreciated benefits that's floating around out there. I was talking to Joe Walsh, and he's taken the course, the Goldman Sachs MBA type entrepreneur course, and a bunch of other businesses, sophisticated business owners. He said relatively nobody in there even knew that the employee retention tax credit even existed.
Wow.
And the belief is that a lot of companies do qualify for that. If your revenue, say first quarter of 2021 is 20% less than what it was first quarter of 19, you're pretty much a shoe-in to get tax credits for Q1 of 2021. It can't overlap with PPP2. I mean, it's a lot of other rules, but the fact is there's tax credit companies out there that will help you figure that out. I know there's more than one. I will share one of them. And this is a company that Matt uses. This is a company that we use. And
negotiate, y'all. It's definitely, everything's negotiable. This is definitely one of those areas where you want to basically play hard to get a couple of quotes, and it's all negotiable on that. So
yeah. So don't necessarily go back and make them sharpen their pencil a little bit. But
yeah, some company's going to ask you for 30% or something like that. I mean, don't sign up for that. Like, you could get it down to 15, 10, 12. I don't know what the number is going to be. The credit, Robin was saying the credit can be.
Robin, this is excellent advice, Robin. Start with your CPA.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a disadvantage at that point at the moment, but
yeah. It's good advice. You should always look for people you trust on your financials that actually have certifications, not just people on the internet doing radio shows, right? So,
yeah, come on now.
Hey. Live streaming.
That's true. And you might get a better deal. So talking to my CPA, So I have a CPA that also owns an accountant's office. And so my accountant is through my CPA, and they're doing our tax credits for us. And they just gave us a price. I'm hesitant to even say it. They're only charging us $500. So look at Matt. I know. So
You want to drop a link in the chat?
Yeah. So I don't know. It might be because it's my brother's CPA and accountant, and he kind of made their business. So it might be from that.
Mine's in the tens of thousands of dollars. So
I know. That's why I'm like, check. Go with Robin's advice. Ask your current people. I don't know if the situation is that my CPA is like, yeah, sure, Liz, it'll probably be around $500. And then when they get in there, they're going to recognize, oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about blah, blah, blah.
It really isn't that much work. I mean, my people put together a packet together. I mean, I'm paying them a substantial amount of money for like basically a packet that's like a few documents and some supporting legal letters. And they are taking power of attorney. So they're saying that they're basically taking the legal stance that the information they're providing is all true, and to the fact that that they're taking some responsibility. But 10% is a chunk. I mean, at 15% or whatever these companies want to take is a chunk. I'm comfortable with that, because I know for a fact that my company uncovered quite a bit more tax credits than a friend of mine that actually was just using through his software and trying to just use like the click buttons that theirs had.
Yeah.
Basically almost an extra $40,000 or $50,000. So in my instance, it paid more than the free tool that was available through like the payroll processors and things like that. So some of you all that are on Gusto or on other tools, you might even look and see what the software has.
Yeah,
it might be worth double checking with your CPA. Good advice. It's
some payroll service providers have some tools and some services already built in. Mm-hmm. Royce is saying it's a 70% credit on your Q1 payroll, and I guess for Q1 2021, for the most part, it would be. I doubt if many of us, or if any of us, would have technicians that their salaries exceeded the cap on that. You can then go back and find credits for 2020 as well, though the criteria is different and the amount of credits you can get aren't as much. And rules, there's a lot of other more squishy subjective rules that can qualify for these credits. And that's part of where a third-party administrator can help as well, though, because you give them power of attorney, and at that point, if it's their judgment, if worst case, I guess, I guess the IRS would be the one that would be determining if you qualify or not. Is the IRS or the Small Business Administration?
This is IRS.
IRS. I like having a partner in the deal who's got.
You and I are more risk averse. Like we have insurance on insurance sometimes, right? So like it's like.
You were asking me about, did we have a certain type of insurance, and you like assumed I didn't, and I laughed.
No, you were like, yes, of course I have that insurance, Matt, because I was like looking at all these. I was putting some terms of service together for a website, and I was like, hey, do we have this kind of insurance? Because if we do, I want to disclose it. Basically, like, do we have this? And it's kind of part of the terms of service, and I wasn't sure that you did. And came back like, of course, I was like, oh, yeah, I would too, because I have that same kind of insurance on my business. It was kind of a cybersecurity insurance for breaches of data, and I even have that for my maid service.
So unemployment rates have been going down nationally. Most recent number has it at 6.0%. However, I saw an interview last week from Jay Powell. He's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And he said the real problem with unemployment is 20% of the bottom quartile of wage earners are unemployed. And that's the same population of people from which that we're recruiting.
Right.
So if you really think about 6% overall, but 20% of the lower quartile of wage earners, that's where most of that 6% resides.
Pretty much there's no unemployment in the top, like if you have any skills in the marketplace. But a lot of this is driven, there seems to be the demand. I think the unemployment would be back to like 3%. Cut this number in half if those people would come back to work. I think we're almost in a world where we're at zero unemployment in reality, because it's acting like that. I mean, I've never seen the unemployment effectively lower than like 1.9%, like across the country. But we're almost in a zero unemployment environment. I've never been in this competitive an environment before.
So what does all this mean? It means that the bottom quartile of wage earners, for a number of them, not all, but for a number, working is an option. It also means for many employers, they've got cash on hand right now. They're flush with cash. We talk about cleaning business owners. A lot of them have more money in the bank right now than they ever had.
Yeah.
So what's happening? Companies are bidding up wages as they compete for labor, and I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. I saw an article from a C-suite person at Glassdoor, and they think it's going to continue to go up until at least September. And if unemployment, insurance at the federal level gets pushed out past that, it'll keep going higher. And it's going to create some unprecedented challenges for us as cleaning business owners. So what do we do?
I was going to have a chat with my employees and have them earn $25 or something to go on to Glassdoor and just do, fill in an honest evaluation. Of course, they're working for us, so how bad is it really going to be? Right?
A favorable, an honest, favorable.
More people, but we just need some more posts in there, and then we can start using it. We can start advertising with that. So,
it makes me wonder, and maybe I am a sucker for conspiracy theory, but it crossed my mind that if you give people money so they don't have to work, and then give employers money to try to entice them to come back to work, is that going to get our minimum wage up nationally above $15 an hour? Not through legislative, not by changing the minimum wage law, but just using free market forces to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're smart enough to think of that. I know you are, Tom.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It's done. It's done. Minimum wage is effectively $15 an hour or higher at this point.
Exactly.
You are not going to hire anyone.
Recognize that needs to get on board, because that part's over.
3 years ago,
that was
3 years ago, I was at like $11 an hour, and I could hire all the people I wanted. $12 an hour, and then we were commissioned, but that was our base. That was our bottom that you could make. Now our bottom is 15, and I'm not even sure that's enough. And I average closer to $19.55 per hour, and I'm not sure that's enough. Like, again, I'm going to probably raise my customers like 5 or 10%, so that trickles down to the employees, because we pay a commission structure. But the idea that you're going to pay somebody less than $15 an hour and be competitive is going to be a very strong struggle. Now, not every market's the same, so I can't say that for wherever you're at. But where I'm at, it's not going to. 14 might still draw some talent. 15 is kind of the bottom, and then you're still not even. You still need to be able to describe your work better, describe the culture, the what are the real benefits of working here, you got to paint a picture, right? Like, drop your kids off at work, drop your kids off on your way to work, pick them up on your way home, no nights, no weekends, that we've always talked about, but really paint that picture of the job. And, I'm even talking about what my loaded pay is with the credit card tips, where they average $19.55 an hour. I'm putting that in the ads now, because we guarantee at least 15, but most of my technicians average $19.55 an hour.
So Leslie's starting at 16, and that's in California. I'm surprised that's working for you.
But she's $17 at 90 days to guaranteed, it looks like. So she's already telling us that. I promise you that she's telling them that before.
Just a kind of a preview of where we're all going to be here in the next 90 days or so, or potentially.
Yeah.
This is giving a lot of credence to the, we had talked a while ago, Tom, about a guaranteed wage. So instead of guaranteeing, a certain amount per hour, but instead guaranteeing a certain amount per week. So if 593 is what unemployment can be paying your people, if you can guarantee, 575, 600, and you just set up some parameters around that guaranteed wage, now might be the time to try something.
You'd have to have some commitment on both sides. Like,
you got to reach some common understanding there, because we've got a couple of bullet points, and we'll skip to the middle one. Being a good employer, I don't think is good enough. We need to be excellent, and pay is a part of it, but benefits, flexible schedules are huge. And there's some people that don't want to work but 25 hours a week. And like Matt was saying, I want to be able to put my kids on a school bus and be home before, the bus drops them off. And maybe you can guarantee a wage, but that's almost, we talk about customized scopes, home specific customized scopes of work with customers. I can see us going in a direction where you have to have, employee specific scopes of work for every team member in different terms and, different outcomes. If you do this, we do that. This is all evolving, but I think some of these ideas are going to take hold, and it's going to be more commonplace. All the things that we've talked about in the past, culture, engagement. We're going to be talking more about some of these things next week. Department
that she is hiring, that she's finding people to hire at those prices or those wages. So that's awesome to hear, Leslie. I love that.
It gives us all hope.
Yeah. We hire part-time. Yep. It's funny though, back in the day, a year ago, 2 years ago, we hired part-time, but the people that wanted part-time were the people that were going to school. And that was why they wanted part-time, right? They had some other thing that they were trying to do. Now they want part-time because that is their idea of what work-life balance is. So work, 25, 30 hours a week, and then have the rest of your time off to do the things that you want to do and to enjoy. So 3 interviews tomorrow. Leslie, what is your response rate? If you have 3 interviews set up tomorrow, will all 3 of them show? And if so, how are you making that happen? Because not if you're using Indeed, especially, not a lot of people are having that type of a response through Indeed. Still getting people to set up interviews, but not. One thing that is working better is setting up the interview faster, not making people wait. Right? So great. Well, we can do an interview right now in the next 15 minutes. Do you have time? That's actually working. People are.
That's part of the whole workforce development workflow, the recruiting, the interview, hiring, onboarding, training, retain. I believe that we all have to pick our game up there. What worked in the past, you could have been good in the past and made it work. I don't think you're going to have to be better than you used to be to reach the same level of effectiveness, the same level of competitiveness.
And what we were talking about in the MMA groups earlier today is whatever you were doing that was working really well a year ago, if you're still trying to do the same things today and they're not working, of course, they won't work. This is a new pool. You are advertising to a new pool of people. The people themselves may be the same names, but they have different expectations. They are different people. Well, what they're wanting in a job is different. You can't be doing what you did a year ago. If you are, that's the problem. Stop doing that. Start doing new stuff.
But we know we will have to be paying more.
No, waiting is not effective. Yes. Yes, exactly. But a lot of people are using that strategy. Like, okay, well, or hoping. The other one is they're waiting, and another one is hoping. Well, I'm hoping that this is going to pass, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
So, do you want to watch everybody raise their wages, and do you want to be chasing it and trying to catch up with them, or do you want to jump over that and be the leader in that? And I look at this as musical chairs. I don't think you want to be the last company in your market to figure out that you need to be paying more than you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think,
But
I mean, I've been working on this for a while. This has been a big project during COVID because I was trying to make the most out of the resources I have. I mean, technician wise, I'm averaging 21 technicians a day. Pre-COVID, I had 36 or 37. And yet I'm doing almost 90% of the revenue with 30% less people. So, I mean, this is a screen I'm pulling from Made Central where I'm really pulling some of this data. And again, it's okay if you don't know these numbers right this second. Most people don't know this stuff, right? You're not alone. This is it's not stuff we were all taught, but we need to start thinking this way now. Like, we cannot do things the way we used to do. So it's not your fault if you don't know this now, but you need to learn this stuff pretty quickly, right? So you need to know like what you're making per hour on every job for like the billable hours. So I'm averaging $70.80 per revenue divided by total available hours. So most of you guys are probably not that high. I won't even keep a job if we can't make at least $52 an hour on it. So have a number in your mind that if you have a customer that you aren't making that much money on, you need to get rid of them, because that affects what you can pay your average employee, right? So I'm averaging $19.55 per hour. That would have sounded crazy, but that's only averaging out to about 36% of payroll to revenue. And we have some negative fees to our customers that actually drives this up a little bit, that doesn't necessarily go to customers, because I charge skip fees and lockout fees. I have no problem doing that at this moment because I'm trying to encourage behavior. But if you want to skip, our skip rate's like 10%, and we're charging like $25 a skip. So I'm making a ton of money just on skips, right? Like, I mean, it's probably $100 a day just in skip rate. So it's, but again, payroll to revenue, this is going to be like probably the number one thing you look at to know if there's going to be any money left for you. And if this number is too skimpy, there's not going to be enough money here to pay them without really driving this number up to the point where you don't have anything left for you, right? So it's like a triangle, right? It's like these three things are just deeply related as far as numbers you really need to look at. And if you can drive up that hourly rate by price increases, or even still, there's so many customers coming in right now, really looking at your production rates and tying what you charge to the time that it really takes to do jobs. Like, quit guessing, figuring out like what your production rates are and getting better returns. So those are some numbers I think you should really like get to the bottom of.
It's going to cost us more in the future to be the employer that we need to be in order to attract and retain the talent we need to be successful. And as we talk on the KPI discussions back at the beginning of the year, we have to be able to charge the right amount for our service to make that happen. And that's new quotes, that's increasing rates on incumbent clients, that's doing rate adjustments on service sets that aren't priced correctly. Need to be able to schedule a way where we're maximizing the revenue for each job hour that we're paying for. We need on the day of work, we need to be able to dispatch in a way to do last minute adjustments to maximize the revenue for every cleaning professional working. The training, equipment, coaching, feedback, accountability, all of that, certainly is a part of the mix as well. But what worked a year ago, what worked pre-COVID is we can do those things, but we've used the analogy, sometimes we can make money just because we're lucky by accident. Things are changing, your cost structure is getting ready to change. And if you don't change the right things in your business, your outcomes might not be as good moving forward as what they have been in the past.
And what I want to point out too is along the same lines is right now, a lot of business owners have a lot more money. And so they're not recognizing that the shift is happening because they have money. There's money in the bank and they didn't have money before. So it can feel like what I'm doing is working. Don't forget what we talk about also, that a lot of times businesses are bankrupt before they even know they're going out of business. Before they even know, they're already bankrupt.
Checkbook accounting, where your success is, do I have money left in the checkbook at the end of the month? It's not. It's a scary place to be when the government gives you a bunch of cash that you're not used to having. That kind of takes that type of accounting and throws it out the window. You can bring cash.
It's good because now it gives you the availability to be strategic. Now you have the money to do all of the things that you wanted to do. It's just you have to shift what you're doing. That's all, because it's a new unprecedented times. You have to shift what you're doing, but still be strategic with that money.
Yeah.
Cash flow from operations. Yeah.
That's the accounting term. And if you've got the right tools in place, you can measure that.
Yeah, if you haven't raised your prices in the last 6 months, a year, here's an opportunity to really do that. So, Matt,
clarify for us. When you're talking about raising prices, you're not talking about raising prices for your clients, right? You're talking about raising your price that your company charges for brand new customers. Is that right?
I mean, both.
Okay,
and your existing user base needs to pay more too. So we raised our prices. About a month ago using Made Central, and we identified. First thing we did is we identified all the customers that were not paying us at least $52 an hour, and we raised those prices like bigly, as our former president would say. We raised, like, if it was 30%, we raised them 30%, and we lost very few, if anybody. I did a price increase to 350 customers with some major rate adjustments. First, to customers that weren't hitting the target hourly rate that we wanted, and we only lost 3 customers out of 350, and we added about $47,000 in annual revenue with a very quick report. Now, this used to take us a long time. Made Central gives me a ton of data. I can pull a report really quick and see, how are we doing on each house, and I can look for exceptions. So I can look for jobs that are just way over to start with, right? And I fix those first, and I really go after those customers that have huge amounts of variance. This is not real data because I didn't want to show on a live thing the back end of Better Life Maids and accidentally show a customer's data. But what we look at here is what's the hours, what's the allowed hours here, what's the average time it's taking, and then if it was a normalized idea is that it looks at the productivity of all your technicians, because how do we solve things in this industry, right? It took too long, so we send our fastest person. And so even though jobs might look like they're okay, right? Let's look for one that's actually like got some variance, but it's like it's really only because we're sending our fastest employee there. I don't see it in this example, but for example, like let's say this job had an allowed hours of 2.5 hours, and the normalized hours would be 3%, would be 3. That just means that you sent somebody fast there to solve a problem. And
you have one down there, Matt.
What's that?
You have one down there. Doesn't have a scorecard right after the 4. There you go.
Yeah. This one's not quite a perfect example either.
Down. One more.
This one here, 4.75. That's
down one more. There, that one.
This is actually someone that's actually. Oh, I see. Yes, you're right. Average allowed hours, right? So, okay, you're right. Allowed hours 4.25. It's only taking 3.72 hours to do it. Actually, this is still probably an example of a slow employee. But if it was normal hours, it would be 3.24. So not only do you want to raise their price, you also probably want to raise the amount of allowed hours so that if you're going to continue to do business together, you actually have like the right productivity rates matching. So if you're going to make a big adjustment to a customer by, raising their prices 20% or something like that, you're also going to tell them, hey, we're going to add 20% to the time we're going to spend there. So it's going to be a wash but now at least you're hitting your target hourly rate of $52 an hour. That's like kind of our bottom. And you've kind of solved some of that stuff. So, when this is done, you've sorted through the data, you have everything you need. All you got to do is hit update base log fee. It'll email the customers telling them the new price, when it's going into effect. And then any other things that you want to share in that letter. And then, I mean, we could do that right now. This is just test data. So dear first name.
No. Did you get Robin's question, Tom? This might answer.
Oh, great ratio. I'm not sure which one he's talking about.
How do you position the price increases with clients?
Sure. So for price increases, I really talked about, the pressure on the marketplace and to maintain the quality that they've consistently had through the years with us. We need to be, an employer of choice. So we need to be, one of the top places to continue to keep their employees. And my turnover is very low. I have very long-term employees at this point. So I need to be able to continue to pay them well and give them the things they need. So this is just the stock letter. You can make this say whatever you want. But at the end, when this sends it, it'll tell them what their new rate is, what the effective date is. All this stuff will be done. Let's hit submit. And are you sure you want to send these people these new price increases? It'll ask you one last time before you do it. Confirm it. And it's going to tell you basically how much extra revenue you just produced. You produced 1 year. This was a small service set. We added $3,000 in annual revenue. What does that do in 5 years? About $12,000. Imagine that with 100 customers. Again, imagine yourself doing this your business, right? You got to do this price increase for 100 customers. Why aren't you doing it now? There's something holding you back, and it's because it's too time consuming or whatever. But you got to do this stuff.
So I've talked to multiple people, even this week, 4 people this week that are still afraid. So I have to go because I have another appointment. But you guys talk about fear. How should they get over it? Why should they not be afraid anymore? Matt, Tom, you guys know there's no reason for fear right now. This is the time.
In today's market in particular, our experience is most clients are thanking us for taking care of our employees.
Yeah.
For being responsible. So part of explaining what you're doing, it's like, you don't want to say, hey, I'm going to raise your rate. You want to give them the why behind it.
Right.
So explain, that you're doing that so you can be the employer that your team members need you to be, and you can be the service provider that your customers are trusting you'll be. They'll thank you.
Yeah.
You'll lose a couple, but guess what? How many of you are working with a waiting list anyway, right?
Let me tell you an anecdotal story, Tom. I told you this, but I don't think I've told the group. I fired a $13,000 a month customer, about $150,000 a year customer last month. And we talked about this. I offered them a price increase and they didn't want to bite. They're like, we're at our budget. And I was like, well, I can't continue to do this. Here's 30 days notice. And I did it without even worrying about it. I have already pre-sold all those 3 employees that I'm getting back off that property. I'm sold out through June, even including the fact that we stopped cleaning at that property through May 6th. My availability calendar is sold out through June. So what are we like 7 or 8 weeks out? We're sold. I mean, that's unprecedented. Like that would normally be terrifying to take a customer off that's $150,000 a year. I didn't bat an eye because I wasn't making enough profit from them. It was driving down my profit margins.
It's the business is out there, folks, and every one of your competitors is struggling to hire people as well. And if you're striving to be excellent, you're doing better than they are. So supply and demand, everybody's supply constrained. You lose a customer, you're going to be able to replace them, but you're not going to. I promise you, I've been doing this for a long time. Your fears are much greater than the reality. And if somebody does push back, it's negotiation at that point. They just don't fire you and that's the end of the discussion. They want your service. They might reach out and say, hey, I can't afford this, or this doesn't make sense. You have a discussion with them. Then you can make a decision. Sometime you can, reduce the scope of work. You can reduce the frequency of service if, they're, a recurring client. So a lot of things you can do to get the numbers right.
You don't have to be heartless either. Like if it's a customer that's been with you for 10 years and they're elderly and it just wouldn't fit in their budget, obviously one customer is not going to make or break you. This is more about globally, making you position yourself, because again, if I do a 5% price increase because I'm commissioned, that's a 5% raise to my employees at averaging close to $20 an hour. That's almost an extra $1 an hour in their pocket, an extra $2,000 a year that they're earning. I'm going to do that again. So my employees are earning almost 10% more than they were the year before. through price increases. So again, this is about employee engagement, and employee engagement is when they open that paycheck or they look on the app that you have where they can see their pay, and they see that they made $700 this week. That's engaging them to do the things that you want to be able to do. I'd also really recommend that you make it easy for your customers to give you tips, and figure out a way to do that. So if Made Central does it on the surveys. There's some other software surveys, Quality Driven that does that if you're using another product, where you can drop a tip amount in the survey.
Tips are huge. I know in a lot of cases it's an extra $1 plus an hour that your technicians are making because of tips.
$1.60 an hour at my company. So yeah, that's just in credit card tips. I don't track their cash tips, but they can see every tip that comes in, and it is a huge morale booster for them to earn that additional money. And I really believe you should be figuring out ways to make your employees pay more with, through their satisfaction, and tips is a great way to make sure that your employees earn more. So, yeah.
Yes, Robin, you position it based upon, wage inflation and needing to pay more to hire the caliber of individual that your clients would expect you to. And, you got to do more than just pay more. You can talk about that as well. Benefits, expanded PTO, more flexible schedules. There's a whole narrative that goes along with needing to be a better employer than what the expectation was, pre-COVID, to make it work in today's world.
And I'm going to make a plug because we're kind of getting to the end of the hour. If you want to look at some of this stuff, some of this reporting in more detail with me about how I do things in my company, I'm going to jump on a demo with me for Made Central. Go to madecentral.com, click on schedule a demo. And, if it's a good fit, we'll take an hour together, and I'll really show you what we're doing, show you how Made Central allows me to do all this stuff. So I'm going to plug Made Central while we're wrapping up, and I really highly recommend you do that. I'm also having a group demo tomorrow. Let me grab the link before we go, and we should probably post that in the chat really quick.
And this website looks different than the old website because it's a new one, right?
Yeah, they probably change the landing pages up every day.
I'm showing the Made Central website now.
We have a new website. I got that up and running this week, so check it out. Book a demo with me, and I think you'll be really surprised if you haven't seen it in a bit, like how powerful the software is, but how customized it is to our industry, and the ROI you're going to get, especially in this really constrained market where you need to make profit on every job. That's my whole focus in my business. That's why me and Tom really get along on this stuff. He was my coach and really coached me to kind of think that way. And it's been nothing short of revolutionary in my thinking about my business. And I'm going to copy this invitation into the chat really quick. So now, Tom, if I put in the chat, is that going to show up for everyone?
Under comments, do you have a link for comments over on the right-hand side?
I don't. So I can do a private chat.
Do it in chat. Do it in chat, and I'll
leave it for you, and then you can post it to everybody. So yeah, I'd say for sure come tomorrow to that Zoom meeting. I'm going to be doing it with, I won't be using live Better Life Made's that data, so I can record this one, and I'll be able to share it. But if you register, and even if you can't make it, I will share the video for you on the Made Central demo. And it's not just going to be a pitch for Made Central. I'm really going to show you deep dive how I think and how we solve problems that affect all of our businesses. So I think it would be very valuable for you to come, even if you're not ready to make a switch today.
Yeah, truly. I mean, would we like to see people use Made Central? Obviously, the answer to that question is yeah. But, bigger than that, understanding the principles that we're sharing here, they're important things that you need to know, especially now with wages going up, and you're going to be having to make a lot of changes in your business to make a go of it and be competitive.
Yeah, this is kind of a quick place to showing you that tip thing. You need to have something like this available to kind of help you increase those wages too. So, all right, we're at top of the hour. Anything else you want to cover real quick?
No, we're good. Thanks, guys. We'll be back with Smart Business Moves again Monday. We'll be posting, on Facebook, more details on that. Got the link for Matt's webinar tomorrow, and that's at 1 o'clock Eastern.
Oh man, I might be actually 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 Central. I think it is.
I was told it was 1 o'clock Eastern. Go ahead and register for
it's
it.
It is 1 Central tomorrow. Just the way that my calendar lined up. I know that interferes with something you have. It is 2 Eastern. Sorry.
Okay. Well, you guys take care. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.